West St. Andrew.
Yes.
We are 4 in numbers so far, and the numbers keep climbing by the minute. Thank you for inviting us. Looking forward to a very interesting and knowledge-filled meeting.
Right, and you heard me earlier with New Kingston. We're looking forward to your participation, your views, and your opinions on this very topical issue. Yeah. Okay, thank you, DP Charmaine.
Absolutely. And as DLG greatly said, I'm putting in the plug also for installation on the 2nd of October.
Okay. Okay, you're going to get a double plug because also when it comes to notices, you can also mention it later on.
Right.
Thank you, Wes and
Thank
Andrew.
you.
Thank you. So we're still in 23 Central. Any other Kiwanian club that I didn't mention? So far we have joining us Kiwanis Club of New Kingston, 23 Central, sorry, online, and West St. Andrew.
Good evening, PD, Stephen.
Good evening, Stony Hill.
Yes. Georgia from Stony Hill. My team is not here yet, but I'm hoping that they will join later.
Yes. Okay. Stony Hill, thank you very much. Georgia, glad to have you here. And as the others join, they can contribute in the chat room, or put it in the chat rather, so that we can see them and recognize them. Okay, still in 23 Central, Stony Hill. If not, any other clubs, guests, visitors, going once, going twice? Close. Thank you everybody for joining us for this evening's meeting. And back to you, President Newton, as we look forward to a very informative and entertaining meeting.
Thank you, PD Stephen. Yes, we're certainly looking forward to it. And I tell you, President Eurydice's guests are really important enough, because I suspect that they're one of the few set of people who are online tonight who actually get to vote in that election. So the rest of us can talk, but a lot of us don't have a vote. I suspect Dr. Eurydice's friends actually have a vote. Mm-hmm. So I hope they listen clearly. All right. We are now at apologies for absences. I have not seen any. Have you seen any, DP Willie? Apologies for absences?
Yes, I've received an apology for absence from, or for lateness from VP or President-elect Designate Garfield Wynn. And of course, you know that the treasurer is off the island in Cayman.
Okay.
I am on, President.
Oh,
President, I am on.
DP Junior, glad to hear you, boss man. Glad to hear you're here.
Yes.
Great. All right. So we won't even pause. We're going to go straight into recognition of birthdays and anniversaries. Again, PD Stephen.
Thank you, President Newton. Back at you, one and all. This evening, we're looking at celebrating or recognizing, birthdays and anniversaries for the week of August 27th to September 3rd. We have just one Kiwanian who is celebrating a special occasion this week. That is Kiwanian Joseph Francis and his wife Annette, who are going to be having their wedding anniversary on the 31st of August. So special anniversary greetings to them when it rolls around later this week. And that's it from Kiwanis Club of Kingston. But is there anybody else who is joining our meeting who is celebrating a birthday and would like to be recognized at this time? Birthday, anniversary, special event, special occasion. If not, every day above earth is a blessing, and we should give thanks for that. And we should all collectively be thankful for life and the many blessings that we have individually in the country of Jamaica and as Kiwanians also. So with that, President Newton, back to you. That concludes this part of the meeting.
And I tell you, DP, PD, I have to say amen to that last statement, because it is so true. We usually don't realize the things that are important until we lose them. like
Yes.
sight and mobility and just being above on this side of the earth. So thank you for that, sir. And as usual, we do not let anyone who join any of our meeting leave without learning something more about Kiwanis. We give it to you in bite size so that you can digest it. So at this point, LG Desmond Bachelor will bring us some Kiwanis education.
Thank you. Good evening, President. President, good evening, all Kiwanians, Kiwanians, guests, SLP members. Can you hear me clearly?
Load strength 5, sir.
All right, DP Richard. Okay, I will just give you 10 points for being an effective chairman. So to become an effective chairman, 1, identify the skill sets of members and motivate them to make a measurable impact. 2, know which projects create pride in membership. 3, ensure that members have fun in executing projects. 4, have an idea of the impact a project will have on the community. 5, speak with the outgoing chairman as he is a great resource person. 6, meet your club's president designate to establish specific goals and expectations for your committee. 7, become familiar with the bylaws, policies, and procedures. 8, select your committee members based on their characteristics to build an effective team. 9, develop the art of delegating responsibilities and do not try to complete the task by yourself. And 10, finally, always, and I stress, always recognize the achievements of members achievement of members of your committee and express thanks on behalf of the club. And that's it for Kiwanis Education, President. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, LG. And I'm pretty sure everyone who listened realized that if by following those guidelines, you're not just going to be a good Kiwanian, not just a good Kiwanian leader, but you're going to be a good leader out in the general world. Okay. It's what now? 7:28, and I want to give them maximum time. So we came here tonight to hear about what people think is going to happen in the US elections. And you know, I guess since this is going to be moderated by DP Stewart, we know it's going to be tight, we know it's going to be informative. And the fact that the panelists are PDT Ralston, DP Marcel, and Director Warren, 3 gentlemen who know more than a lot of people will ever know. I'm just going to get out of the way right now and let these 4 gentlemen have the floor. So DP Stewart, it's over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, President Newton. I guess everybody can hear me. Let me just confirm that. Am I being heard?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yes, you're being heard.
Good, thank you. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, you know, this evening we're trying to just explore. It's not so much about predicting, but it's kind of exploring basically how the US runs their elections. And we're gonna look at obviously the 2 candidates and get into a bit, you know, more on the ground. But I think a good place to start in terms of and I didn't tell my panelists this, but I'm sure it won't take them by surprise. You know, it won't jolt them in any way. I thought the first thing to start by looking at It's just how the US runs their election. You know, in our system, we have a parliamentary system, and the party that wins the most seats usually forms the government. Now, in the US, it's a little different. And I wanted to ask our panelists first. We know about the Electoral College. Some people may not understand exactly what it is, or that they hear the name and they hear the words. I wanted to start by asking, and I will throw this in, that there's been a lot of talk about should they abandon the electoral system? You know, so I wanted to kind of get a feel for how our panelists feel about that before we get into, you know, the meat. Who wants to go first?
Well, you know, DP Stewart, I am not really a student of American politics. I'm more comfortable locally.
Yes, we know
so
that.
So am I.
So say all of us.
But it is said that when the US sneezes, we tend to catch pneumonia down here because nearly all of us have some kind of connection, some persons who live there, family members and what have you. So their election somehow is of interest to us. As you pointed out, they operate a system that is much unlike ours, where in our situation it's the majority that determines who is the government, while they have a system where you have the Electoral College, which really is votes that are apportioned to states based upon population, and they get certain amount of delegates based on their population. And these are the persons who form the Electoral College. So you could actually have a situation where the government that gets a majority vote does not form the government because they did not get the Electoral College vote. So that is a basic but primary difference between the systems that we operate. And I think because of that, the American system, well, just like ours, can be manipulated, you know, in a way that the true
somebody, okay.
The true intentions of the majority of persons are not realized based on manipulation that can take place in that Electoral College system.
Okay. That's so in a sense, would you say, you don't have to give an opinion, but would you say you're pro or against?
Say again?
I said, if you haven't thought about it, you don't have to answer this question, but I'm asking, would you say you are pro or against it? Somebody has on a TV or something, please. I'm not.
I don't really have a position. I think it has worked over the years. There has not been any tremendous fallout because of it.
Okay.
Until a certain character came into the picture, then, you know, it's a different thing. But I have no real opinion.
Okay. That's fine. That's quite acceptable.
I think
okay, who wants to go next? Warren or
I'll go next.
Okay.
I know Marcel has a long thing, so I'll in my opinion, the Electoral College system is not a true democracy. It sort of alienates the whole democratic process in the United States. And it's not one vote. Each is not a one vote. It's not a one vote. That makes up the delegates. In other words, in one state, it may be one vote or two votes for a delegate. In another state, it takes 6 or 8. And this thing was really developed, this whole electoral college system was developed shortly after slavery. In other words, it was ingrained with some systemic racism, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. You'll find that the states where the one man, one vote doesn't apply is in the states with the higher proportion of black people, brown and black people. So I am not in favor of it. And I think it sort of denigrates, sort of degrades the whole democratic system in the United States.
Okay, you at least I got a you have a positive well, let me not say positive, but you have a
opinion.
Yes, you have an opinion. All right, let's hear what DP Marcel has to say. Marcel, how you
Just to add
see
to that,
this?
yes, I have a very clear opinion on it too. I think it's I don't think it's fair, and the in addition to what Chairman Warren said, Director Warren, is that two things I find is makes it flawed. One is that obviously it's not the majority vote that decides who is the president or who wins the election. But secondly, and it answers the question, it answers the mystery, so to speak, as to January 6th. My understanding or the take I have is that the final decision, I think it's the first Monday in January. I think that's the tradition, where the persons who really, so the power is not in the hands of the people. That's what I find is undemocratic about it, or can be. The final decision as to who wins is what happens on January 6th, or I think it's the first Monday, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong, where formally the electoral college numbers are, by a raise of hand or whatever, is done in the House. No, what can happen, and this is why I think Donald Trump was trying to do that. After trying everything, his final attempt was to stall or to stop that. And in fact, one of the things that was happening, that he was trying to buy out some of the persons who are going to vote, because they can vote otherwise on January 6th against the will of the state. And when I found that out, I think it was so ridiculous. And I think the whole idea was to make sure that the power was still in the hands of the few, and not really the power in terms of who decides the winner was retained in the hands of the few. That was the whole thinking behind setting up that system, rather than in the hands of the people. So obviously it's flawed. I think we have a much better system, a fairer system of deciding who wins an election.
You mean if we went one man, one vote? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, one man, one vote.
You didn't finish the statement.
Well, yeah, that's it. But also, not having a system where the final decision is up to others in the House who can either vote whatever way with a number of electoral votes, because they could put it to any other candidate.
Okay. I got
you.
They're
not bound to go with what happened in the state.
I think that came up. In fact, I think Georgia is trying to pass some kind of law currently, which to do with that type of what you're just talking about. But let me go back a bit. I think maybe it is by tradition. The process that would have taken place on January 6th. It's probably the first Monday. It doesn't have to be January 6th. Was normally a formality, and it usually represented the electors based on the amount of electors that each state has. And it
Right.
would have been just a formality.
Right.
Now, I'm gonna do a little research while we are talking and see if I can get some additional information. But
Okay.
but what I want to
The crux of the matter, though, in my opinion, and it was illustrated when Hillary, she won the majority vote by over 2 million. Yet still, through the whole electoral college system, she wasn't made president. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put my views on the board. I'm glad I had the opportunity of hearing what, you know, our fellow panelists had to say. I have tended to also feel that something was flawed about it. But I've come to a new way of thinking about the Electoral College, and I'll share it with you. If you look on, all right, I have a map. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it. 1 second. I would have to just give me a sec.
Right, a hand is up from someone who probably has work.
All right, I'll take the hand. I can't see it now because I'm trying to share a screen. But
DP, you already see.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, you already see.
Is that DP Warren stated that the Electoral College was like it talked of the origin of
that. Not hearing clearly.
Is it a question you have? Sorry, just tell me if it's a question.
That's the question is a statement. While DP Warren talked about it being the Electoral College had its germ in slavery, that basically they're saying the post-slavery that stated that basically people are not sufficiently wise to make a conscious decision as to how they vote. So we be more brainy, more intelligent folks will eventually basically like ratifying their vote to say maybe this is what they really want. But the crux of the matter today is that the black and brown and all of these color folks do not go out and vote as they should. So therefore, rather than having the number of delegates representing the people in the state, based on the fact they would have done they would have gone out and voted, they would have done their what you call it, the numeration and all of that. They do not participate in these things. So therefore, you might find a big state like, say, California, only have two delegates. But a small state like, I'm just using states, you know, don't quote me on this. But a small state like Delaware will have 3 delegates. And you wonder, how is that? Because
sorry, that's not a very good example.
No,
in terms.
Well, I'm just saying, just calling states and looking at this, we know the size of California as opposed to the size of Delaware. And so one would conceptualize that a bigger state would have more delegates. But because the people in the bigger states tend sometimes like a California or a New York, where we have a lot of people of color, we do not participate in these electoral processes that will.
Sorry. Okay, hold on. All right. Let me get sorry, Ulysses. I want to come back to the panels. All right. But I don't understand the point when you said don't participate. Are you meaning they don't vote? Because that is how they participate. They participate by voting.
Exactly. So they do not go out and vote sufficiently in the numbers that they.
No. But that, sorry. I gotta cut you there. That is a function of the parties generating the excitement to make people come out and vote. That's not has nothing to do with the electoral college system. In other words, it's 2 different things. It is.
It does.
Okay, hold on. I don't want to get into a discussion at this stage. Please. You ready to say I want to keep on where? No. We gotta cut this.
Carry on, yeah.
Okay, because I really wasn't planning to get into the audience participation at the beginning. Okay. But since I can see where it's going, it's not the direction I'm really thinking. So we can come back to it at some point, if time allows. Let me just say this about the electoral college system, though. As I said, I had a similar view that I thought it was flawed, but I've come to think of it in a slightly different way. And what one can always argue about the amount of electoral college votes, you know, in relation to a particular state and so on. But I'm not going to get into that part of it because, you know, usually the more populous countries, populous states have the greater the electoral college votes. But let me say this to you. If you notice, the Democrats tend to be very strong in the coastal areas and in the cities, basically the cities, right? The Midlands of America tends to be more Republican, but not as dense population, but people are there. I'm getting some noise somewhere, please. Something is going on that I don't like. Can you please, let me see if I find out where this is coming from. Okay, that has stopped. It has stopped. Okay, thank you. All right. What I realized though, let's suppose we are going straight off the whole one man, one vote, right? Without anything else. And maybe I should also point out, it's not very often that the popular vote has gone against the electoral college. In other words, if you count all the elections to date, it has happened, but it's not like it usually happens. It's not the norm. But let me say this: if the Democrats are stronger in the populous areas, like the cities, they could really plan an election campaign that without trying to appeal to the Midlands. In other words, the Electoral College forces the parties to speak to the needs of those people as opposed to being ignored. And this is where my thinking is now, that the Electoral College, so long as, you know, you can't just ignore the votes, you know, in terms of when you submit it in January. We'll check that. But in terms of how politicians argue and how the political parties reach out to the populace, then you can have a situation where they are totally ignored. Because and this is why I say the Electoral College has some value. A state like, well, name anyone, Wisconsin, any of those in the middle that are typically the red states, you have to at least know what it is would appeal to them, and you have to campaign in those areas. If it was strictly numbers, one man, one vote, you wouldn't even have to go there if you figured I have the numbers in the states that I'm okay. And that's why I'm saying it has some value. Even though the original concept had to do with, you're quite right about Warren, about the fact that it is an offshoot of the post-slavery period, when they wanted to try and ensure that the South didn't have, you know, how they were represented. It had to do with the fact that they didn't want the slaves to increase the number. So they did something there. But as far as the principle of it, it forces people to speak to each of the states. Warren, you wanted to say something?
No.
Or was it you?
No, I'm listening to you.
Okay, I thought I heard a voice, and I thought it might have been yours in terms of a counter view. But I'm just saying that I've now come to
the piece too. I'm saying that not because the thing is not the norm. That means it can be improved or it can be better. I mean, the fact, you're right, that it probably happened twice or three times, but that's twice or three times too often, you know.
But what do you think about the point I'm making, though? That if you didn't have something like this, you could have political parties, major political parties, totally ignoring certain states and their needs.
Well, if the foundation of a democracy is all people are equal in broad terminology, and one man's vote is the same as any other man, then the majority vote should determine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just threw in that because I thought it was a different perspective. And as I said, I used to think it was flawed, but I think I've come to realize that it does have some value, but it's not something that we have to win, you know, in this particular situation.
And this thing hasn't been changed for 100, how much? 100 and maybe 200 years. You know.
Okay.
So, you know, it is updated or revised, you know.
Well, you're talking about the actual number of electoral.
Yeah, based on demographic changes. We don't have no change in the electoral college numbers, you know, for each state.
Okay. I'm making a note of that, and I check that. I check that.
Certainly has not changed in quite some time.
Yeah,
to match the movement of persons into different areas. So it's really flawed in more ways than one, you know.
Okay, let us go in a different direction now after having looked at that. Let me just say this. The way this election is playing out, it is obvious that Donald Trump was all set and ready to go against Joe Biden, right? And it seems that since that particular scenario has changed and he's now up against a woman, a younger woman, a Black woman, he is a little bit unsure of himself. You know, with Joe, he was on top of his game and ready to run. He's not so sure how to attack this. And then following the the DNC convention just a week or so ago, you know, it is clear that or it appears that something is in his campaign is also, and let me just put this also on the table, that his vice president, his choice for vice president was based on all the things that I've read, was at a point in time, in other words, Vance may have been a good choice when things were going smoothly and and basically, you know, he's heading against Joe Biden and the polls were kind of in his favor. Now what that situation is he had to face Kamala, then Vance doesn't seem to be such a good choice. So let me hear the panel on that particular these areas that I've just outlined, and then we take the discussion a bit further. Who wants to go first? In summary, what I'm saying is that the change at the top of the ticket for the Dems, the choice of VP, and basically how Trump now has to rethink and revamp his overall strategy. So what state has that left him in? Who wants to take that?
You know, a day in the life of politics is a long time. And so things are shifting almost daily, almost minutely. And the American system that we are talking about is so unpredictable that there is absolutely no clear winner at any point in time until election day. He certainly would have chosen his vice president at a time when he would have been in somewhat of the ascendancy. And now that things seems to have shifted, not changed dramatically, but have shifted, and there's a trajectory that is pointing in the way of Vice President Harris, then maybe his choice now would have been different from Vance, because Vance comes with quite a bit of baggage, which is being exposed. And a matter of fact, there was a time when they used to speak awful things about each other. And, you know, Vance have actually likened him to, I think, Hitler at some point in time. You see, but that is the nature of politics. You have to sleep with who they put in the bedroom with you, you know, and you know.
Yes, all right.
Okay.
That's right.
That's the guy find himself in.
Okay,
DP
Marcel?
still.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
you're using the panelists now. DP.
Yeah.
You
I'm
hear
hearing
me, DP still?
I'm hearing you.
Yes, I am a little confused, and therefore seek some clarification on the same point we had before about the electoral colleges, for example, versus our parliamentary system. Because I know, you know, in our parliamentary system as well, you could win majority votes, but well, it's a different thing. I know it's different in the case that you really vote for the parliament. But you could win majority seat and don't win the election. It does happen here too.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because we go off seats, and you could, so that I'm glad you brought it
In
up.
other words, St. Catherine will have like 15 parliamentary seats, but St. Thomas only have 2. Wouldn't it be the same thing as electoral college, kind of?
No.
Well,
not quite.
Not quite.
I know it's different. But I'm just trying to compare and contrast it.
Yeah, but the essential point that you are making is a valid one, and I think that I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. So it even in our case is not one man, one vote.
No.
Even in our case.
Yeah, because we vote for member of parliament. So what Stu is saying is that a member of parliament can win by 5,000 votes, and you know, somebody win by 12 votes. So
no. Let's rally. Each candidate is decided by, whether it's America or Jamaica, each candidate is decided one man, one vote. That hasn't changed, both here and in the US. But but when you talk about who gets to govern, it doesn't boil down to one man, one vote.
And that is what I'm saying. In other words, the guy coming out of a certain parish could come out with a majority of 10,000 votes, but parish is producing one member of parliament.
Well, but I think the short story is that the popular vote, as we call it, it can go a particular way and still the other party wins the election.
All right. Now let's touch a little. Okay, you hadn't got a chance to speak, Marcel. Did you have something
just to say quickly, yes. There's no question about it. I think there was a obvious strategy which the Trump Republican. Let me use that. I'm saying that liberally because there's something I've discovered. Be careful here, right? Trump is up front, but yes, really about the candidates. But the Republican stroke Trump had a very clear strategy, and obviously so in dealing with a wounded, put it that way, Biden. That obviously would change because there is a major change in your opponent. And the thing that I would quickly say too is that in the case of a Donald Trump, which is the person up front, for him, I think he's in strange territory.
Yes.
Because here he is, probably for the first time in all the different things he has done, being confronted by not just a woman, but a very strong and firm woman, a feisty woman, speaking in a positive way, in that he would have been accustomed to taking on, you know, head to head another man. I have found that, and he probably falls in this category, that there are some men who are okay with that. But when they come up, and I know the women will jump in for this.
But he ran against Hillary Clinton and win.
Yeah, but Hillary was, listen, this is a different kettle of fish, right? Because here is now, I talk about the change of strategy, you know, with somebody who is taking him on head to head. And you have seen where, to me, he feels intimidated. I think he was intimidated by Hillary Clinton. This seems to, you know, intimidate him somewhat. And he's not as confident and self-assured and punchy as he was before.
Okay.
My view is slightly different.
Go ahead, Warren. I wanted to bring you in. Go ahead.
Because I feel a lot of the criticisms of Vance were there even before the change in the Democratic nominee. I think, for example, it wasn't well known, at least in Jamaica, that Vance married an Indian, a Hindu. And this, he has received a lot of criticism from his own, I was going to say Republicans, but the Trump cult, the evangelists, the nationalist Christian evangelists, who are, as we all know, are in favor of Caucasians, male white Caucasian. So they are a bit disgruntled with the choice of the vice president because the wife is a Hindu and all the children have Hindu names and so on. So that's in conflict with their views, you know. So, and there are other reasons. I mean, we mentioned earlier on the criticism that Vance made of Trump, you know, being Hitler and all this type of thing. That is different regardless, you know. So, some of the criticisms may not have arisen from the change, but were there from before.
Well, let me say this. There's hardly a vice presidential nominee that Trump could have found who had not said disparaging things about him in the past. So if he was going to use that as a qualifying factor, I don't know who he would get to run.
You're right.
Yeah.
But not all of them are Hindu, you know?
Okay. So please, what's that?
Not hearing that.
Let me try. Raleigh, 1 second. Are you on camera?
Mustard.
Are you on camera?
Walnut oil, I believe.
Oh, I'm trying to find who is this person.
Eastern.
Let me. Junior, I'm going to mute you a second. I just went to.
That would depend on what you mean by the term professional.
It looks like Eastern McKinney.
I'm a healer.
I'm trying to find his name.
Is right.
Oh, yes, it's Eastern. Okay, fine. Let me just. Okay, I got that. All right. Okay, yeah, Riley, I was just asking if you're on camera.
No.
You want to be? Because I really could come off camera if anything, but are you in a position to come on camera?
Traveling.
Oh, okay, never mind. All right, no problem. All right, guys, I think there is something else. All right, let's move a little bit in another direction. Right now, Hillary, I mean, not Hillary, of course, Kamala has kind of surged a little bit. In other words, a lot of the battleground states she's doing very well in terms of head-to-head against Donald Trump. So the whole enthusiasm, the whole excitement within the Democratic Party, you know, that was never there with Biden, even though Biden has been a very good president. And his legislative successes has been good. I don't think only a Republican probably might question that, but I think generally speaking, that is a fact. but I think he was just a little bit too old and a little bit too campaigning is not for the faint of heart and is not for the weak. You know, campaigning is really a different thing, and obviously he couldn't really go up to it. But I want to here's where I want to take this now. Right now, the possibility is that Kamala could win the election. All right, the possibilities. However, but okay.
In other words, I'm saying you're saying Kamala, not like how Trump called her.
Kamala. That's how I pronounce it. Kamala, I think that's correct. She can win the election.
That's a Jamaican pronunciation.
No, Kamala is what? No, not Kamala.
No, that's Jamaican. I was saying that's Jamaican.
Okay. What I'm saying though is that she runs the risk. Let me just say something. A note I had. The last three presidents, meaning Obama, Trump, and Biden, when they won their election, they had what you call the trifecta. And the trifecta is very important in the sense that they won the presidency, they won the House, which is the Congress people, the congressmen, and they won the Senate. It is very important to be able, now, what you do, when you win those three, you have a lot more options in terms of what you can pass legislatively. And this is, so it's very important. If you remember with Obama in 2008, he won all three. So did Trump in his first term, and so did Biden. But however, in Obama's when, you know, it's not just the presidential, remember elections are every 2 years. In the first midterm in 2010, I think what happened with the Democrats is that they felt, gee, okay, I've elected my guy, I've done my job, let him govern. But they forgot that the midterms are very important. And I'm going to come back to midterms. But what the point I was going up to is that Kamala is in danger of winning the presidency. Right now, the House looks like it will go to the Democrats, but the Senate is very iffy. It's iffy, and if she doesn't win the Senate, it's going to mean that she will not be able to deliver in accordance with people's expectations of her. And I want to go back to the map just to show you something that I dug up. Let's look at this. Now, if you look down here, I hope you can see this. Right now in the Senate, the Democrats have 51 to the Republicans 49, but it's not exactly 51. It's really 47, and four senators who describe themselves as independent, but they caucus with the Democrats. So that's how they got to 51. Bernie Sanders is one, but he consistently votes with the Democrats, right? You also have a guy named King. Let's look for my notes here. Yeah. Yeah, Angus King is another one. He has been voting with the he's also a Democrat, but I mean an independent rather. Then you have Joe Manchin. If you remember a couple of years ago, Joe Manchin was given a lot of problems within the last, it was in the Obama administration a lot, where he almost had to appease him in the Senate to get his vote. Well, he is now not running again for election. He's not running. There's talk that he wanted to run for president, but he obviously abandoned that. So I don't know if he's gonna try to run for governor, but he's not going back. But that is and his state is a Republican state. So it is very likely that his Senate seat is going to go to the Republicans. And then the fourth person is Kyrsten Sinema, who is up here. If you look at the list, she's right here up at the top. She is not going back, okay? And so where you see purples, the purples are the independents, right? In that particular scenario. But I want you to look to the right, and you'll see grays. You see two grays here, because this line is supposed to say who they think is going to, which party they think is going to take that seat. Okay. Here's a gray. This gray is a seat for Minnesota, and it's John Tester is the candidate. He's the incumbent, but he's under a lot of pressure, and he could lose his seat. If he loses his seat, it makes it very difficult for a Democratic administration to hold the Senate. And the other one that they show as a toss-up, that's the gray mark here, is the one Sherrod Brown. He's Ohio, right? Now I think it's seen, although they show it as a toss-up, it all depends on who is putting this map together. But it is felt that he is strong enough to probably carry it out, to win. So it may not be as much of a toss-up as this chart is suggesting. But the point I'm getting at is that the Senate hangs in the balance. And what Kamala needs is a trifecta. And if she does not get the trifecta, she's going to have to compromise to a much greater degree with the Republicans. And it's also going to impact her judiciary appointments, if any come up, especially not just the Supreme Court, if one comes up, but the other lower courts. And that is really a significant issue. So just give me your thoughts on what I've just presented.
I think what you have said is the American system.
Yes.
And Kamala, in her campaign, she is hoping to bring along with herself, some of these marginal seats, Senate seats. I'm sure she understands what is happening, but she can only do what she can do,
She won't be able to win some for them, But but if you look back though, Georgia was a surprise the last time around, not the last election, but I think it was a little bit earlier when it didn't happen at the same time because they had to have a runoff and all kind of stuff. But Georgia now has 2 Democratic senators, and in a state like Georgia, that's really an amazing feat. Yes. Continue with the point if you're.
No, I'm just saying, but 70 days, I think it was PDT who said, why a day is a long time. I think we have 70 days before the election. And I think that must be one of her goals with her team.
Yes.
To try but I'm sure she recognizes the pitfall there. And her ability without controlling the Senate and the House to carry out some of her reforms.
Yes. Anybody else wants to? Go ahead, Marcel.
Quickly, it's a real challenge. I'm just taking it to its most challenging then, right? Because if it doesn't happen that way, if you get the trifecta, then that's fine. But listen, I think she would have a challenge probably more than anybody else, because there was somebody who is even in the Democratic Party, I've been speaking with persons on the ground, so to speak, right, in the US, and she end up, they use the word default. There's some credibility things there, right? No, we'll go behind the candidate, right, because you want your party to win. But she doesn't come on the scene with a political track record. You know what I'm saying? like a Biden will, and so on. And at the outset, and this is where there's, at some points, that says there's a dilemma that she faces, because it was quite obvious or evident that Joe Biden, yeah, the customary thing is for the sitting president to have a probably another term, but it was very, very obvious and clear enough. And the word on the inside is that they knew this, that he was not up to it. But as vice president, she was not initially seen as that natural, normally the vice president is the natural successor, the natural second choice. It wasn't so with her. So she ends up almost by default, given the timing, when he pulled out, and all that goes with that. So she would have, if she has that kind of situation there, she's going to have some serious challenges.
But Marcel,
even with her own people.
She's going to have problems, but I think from the onset, firstly, she's a woman, right? She's female. There has never been a female president. And then, in addition to that, she's a Black woman. So it's a double whammy, so she has to overcome this systemic
prejudices.
Yes, that is prevailed throughout the whole United States.
But sure.
Yes.
Trump had no political record when he came on this.
No.
So, he was not in any kind of politics when he burst on the scene. So that kind of debunk Marcel's argument in that respect,
Not necessarily. Let me tell you what I'm saying. So one of the things that happened there, remember Trump in a way came through the whole thing of challenges. He faced
challenges
within the party. I mean, he had to well, I had to know. Went up to the convention the first time around. So he garnered support. And I think he garnered support in his party as Trump more than she has. Because she didn't have that opportunity to do it. There was no need for her to do it. So
okay. No, okay, go ahead.
You see where I'm going? Okay.
No, finish your point. Finish your point.
Just making that comparison. Trump faced challenges in terms of getting the nomination, right? Kamala didn't.
No, okay. I think when you said challenges, I kind of interpreted it a different way.
No,
he had opponents. He had opponents because
right?
other people were running for the same thing.
This is it.
But he quickly dispatched them, and they really didn't. All of them added up, never count one.
That's a critical point. He quickly dispatched them because of the kind of support he had within. Yes, that's
all right. Let me comment on something you said first. I think there's some truth to the fact that the Democrats were unsure about whether Kamala was going to be able to pull something like this off. But in other words, they weren't so sure, which is why a lot of them were probably hanging on and hoping that Biden could last. I think it is only after the debate that they kind of more and more people kept saying, no, it's not going to work. The polls running against us,
right.
Contributions are drying up, and so on. So we have to do something.
Yes.
No, the fact is there was no other Democrat that had the name recognition of Kamala Harris.
Yes.
None of that could compare. You could the guy knew some from California, but he still didn't have the national profile. And all the other persons just didn't have the profile. And then when what you have seen now is that when Biden actually now put his stamp on her, because the CK, there were two releases. The first one didn't mention Kamala, right? Just that he was stepping back.
Yes.
It wasn't in the same breath. It wasn't in the same announcement.
That's a verbal
and then,
announcement,
so I don't know if that was an oversight or that was deliberate or what. But it quickly realized that you have to know what happened. You know, you're not going
it was
to
deliberate. For what I'm here, it was
I think
deliberate
it was
because
deliberate.
there was that uncertainty as to how she would fare. She had not going against her, you know, female, non-white.
No, but look, but you see, once you pick her as vice president, you're past that point. You know, you pick her. She was a woman when she was named as VP, and she was black when she was named as VP. So you can't come back now and use that. You know,
I think though what had happened is that Biden, as you said, he was falling, almost rapidly in the polls, and he had fell behind Trump some 4 points or 5 points. And as you said, the donations weren't coming in as they should. So he had to do something, and they took polls of Harris, and she showed an improved position against Trump. And this bore out when she was actually named, and she actually surpassed. Most of the polls are showing a 2%, 3% above Trump, although it's within the margin of error. But it still shows that there was a big bump up after Biden stepped down, you know?
Right.
That's politics.
Who was that?
I am.
Go ahead.
At a point where I think September 10th gonna be a very important date.
That's the debate night.
I think that is when she has the opportunity to put the nail in the coffin and do away with Trump. I think if we look at debate, she will have the upper hand with her background as a prosecutor who's always, you know, questioning person or what have you. And he will have him on the back foot. He will go off script and will start to rant and rave. You know, that's just my...
Don't forget tell lies.
Yeah.
but
yes. Go ahead, Warren.
No, but she wants the microphones to remain open so she can cross-examine. But Trump realized that
it's not because she wants to cross-examine.
Yes, she wants to know what...
it's not that. You can ask your opponent questions. Why they want the mic open is because if Trump is irritated to a point and goes off, they want that to come live.
That's the point.
That's the point.
But they want her.
No, that is it.
No, that is it. That is it. Because there's nothing to prevent her now. If the mics are not.
Yeah, if the mics are off, she has to wait her turn.
Yeah, but she still has an opportunity.
But she still can. She could still question it.
It's not the same as interrogating. As if the lie should jump in.
Yeah, but I don't know if you are allowed to jump in. You know, everybody must have a period where they can say something without interruption. There must be something like that. And then afterwards, So I think that is really the reason, though.
That's it.
But let's. What I'm seeing now is that right now, based on how, let me just tell you which are the battleground states that are. I've got they are not. If you look at somebody else's, you might get a different mix. So this is not cast in stone. But there's Arizona, and these are, I'm gonna list the ones that are held by Democrats now. When I say held, I shouldn't say use the word held. They were won by
Democrats.
The Democrats in right. That's what I mean. Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And on the other side, you have North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Now, you could even say that Texas maybe is not really in play.
How about Michigan? Michigan is...
And Michigan, yes, I have Michigan. sorry, I should have added Michigan. I should have put it down, but I did have it on my paper. Right, Michigan is also one of those. I've seen commentaries which say at Pennsylvania. Remember, it has always tended to be Florida, but Pennsylvania right now is being looked on as the key in terms of how the election is gonna go. According to the Electoral College, Pennsylvania is being looked at as the key. But what I think that it's obviously gonna be a close election. Although right now some people are thinking that it is not necessarily gonna be close. But I hope the Democrats assume it is going to be close and work as hard, because the enthusiasm that has been generated since Kamala has gone to the top of the ticket is almost unprecedented, or if you could say since 2008. It has not been seen. And right now it looks like they're doing the right things. By campaigning in Georgia, which is supposed to be also, even though the Democrats held it, but by I think she and her vice president nominee are in having rallies in Georgia, which is where Trump would have thought he didn't have to focus too much based on how things are right now. But by putting pressure on you and forcing you to spend money where you probably didn't plan to have to spend money, that's also part of the strategy. So, you know, it is an interesting, it is right now, it is an interesting campaign, and a lot to look forward to in the coming days. About 70 days left to go.
Trump is still slightly ahead in Georgia.
Yes, I think he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Michigan is
Stewart.
neck and neck. Arizona is neck and neck. Wisconsin, Wisconsin, I think the Democrats are marginally ahead. Pennsylvania is neck and neck. So most of the swing states are certainly within the margin of error, you know?
Yes.
And they're up for grabs by any one of the parties.
Certainly at this point in time.
Stuart.
Yes, yes, Gerthen, go ahead.
I know that everybody's saying that it's close. Yes, it's close now, and Kamala and the team are in Georgia now. But I'm saying that it would be so sad if the independent and the women, after Roe v. Wade is needed in America, if the women don't come out and vote, I guarantee Kamala not getting the popular votes. She just have to work on the electoral side. But I believe she's going to get the popular votes.
I think she really
After all, don't care how many lies Donald Trump tell, it is not going to work. Just wait until after the debate and you're going to see a change. And also, she's going to make sure that she preach Roe v. Wade and other things, healthcare and so on, so that she gets the turnaround. Wait and see.
I agree with you. In fact, somebody has said that this election is not, because, okay, the economy is not doing badly now. Granted, inflation is a little bit higher than, it has come down. It is definitely coming down. And
a
they're
lot
probably
of
still
jobs are available.
right. So the economy is not as if to say the Republicans can use the economy.
But
you know, when they used to say the economy is stupid, that's not exactly a strong point from Republicans. Although they will try and find some things to criticize, but it's not. It may not be so much a policy election, except for abortion. Abortion is going to be almost so I'm glad, you know, Gerthen mentioned it, because a lot of commentaries are focusing.
Roe v. Wade, where you have not just it's contraceptive, everything, not just abortion. It has to do with contraceptives and things like that. So
no. But what I'm
going to be a real big turnaround.
Well, because what is in the project 2025 and so on, it seems as if, well, they have always hinted at it as if they wanted to go after contraceptive, but because that has not been really been done yet, that is going to be part of the conversation. But certainly abortion has technically been banned in a number of states, and that is really, and what they want to do is make it national. However, I saw where recently Trump was backing off as to whether he would I'm not sure what I heard, but it's almost as if to say
women are not idiots. They're not going to listen because he will go back to his word.
Exactly. So
but Trump is going to, well, from what I've been reading, there are two items which we have just said won't be topical, but the Trump and the Republicans, the economy is one, and inflation. That is the main ones that seem to be trying to raise. But as you said earlier, the economy is not too bad. Inflation is coming down, but they are going to try and use that because they don't want to involve in this whole abortion issue.
Yeah, but they can't avoid, because them are going to make sure that it's front and center. So they can't, they might not want to, bring it up, but they can't avoid it because it has already been passed in some states. So, and people, there are a number of cases of women who are even miscarrying, and doctors are afraid to even complete the process because they're afraid of being prosecuted over this particular situation, and they were in a state of a miscarriage. So there are a lot of cases that are now being brought up. Another thing that's interesting, I've never seen an election like this where so many notable politicians, and in this case I'm talking about Republicans, but I've never seen it either on either side, where you have Republican politicians, now elected Republicans, who have said, I am going to vote for the Democrats, and saying it publicly. There were a number of them at the convention, at the DNC convention, and even prior to that. This, I've never seen this before. I'm not saying, you might not have had these people who might say, well, I'm gonna vote on this side but they wouldn't have made a public display of it. No, they are doing it, and that to me says something. Another thing I should mention, I was watching some this evening, really, the Harris ticket has done something that has not quite been done before. Even when Obama went social media, and that was like one of the first elections when social media really began to play a vital role. Not only is social media playing a vital role now, but she has brought in influencers and the young people. So now you have a lot of very, very young, teenagers, maybe 18, that they can vote, and those who are on the whole TikTok platform, who are playing the role of influencers and reaching other young people. So that is a vital part of the strategy that the Harris ticket is using.
But in addition to
also, sure. And we have not touched on the influence of the Jewish lobby in America. That has always played a major role in the body politics, and you notice that she had to almost embrace Israel and recognize their right to exist, while trying to say we have to protect the Palestinians.
She did not attend the speech in the House, though.
No, I think.
But I think she playing the role she has to play. I mean, she can't.
Yes.
She has to say, well, but she's following the two state of the party,
right? And plus, her husband is Jewish.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But in addition, though, moderator, the Harris campaign, I think fundamentally is for the middle class and the lower class. And if you look at all the economic plans that she has come out with, I mean, she intends to raise the corporate tax rate back to 28 from the 21 that Trump reduced it to in 2017.
And that reduction helped to run up the deficit.
Yes, it estimated that if this thing continues for another 10 years, it will, you know, at the 21%, US would lose $4.7 trillion in 10 years. You know, then she's saying the minimum tax rate of 25% on all incomes of the wealthiest, 0.1%. In other words, that was a big tax loophole. Now you can't pay less than 25% if you are in the top.
But not on, but on, this is on the margin, that's the marginal rate though, not on everything.
That is a minimum rate. That this is 0.01%, the richest population. Okay. That is the minimum rate they can pay, right? And they're saying that companies over 1 billion minimum, they have to pay 21% as against 15 that it is now. So a lot of these, because she's going to give a lot of grants and exemptions, which she wants to balance her budget. So she's going to tax the very wealthy. She's saying that tax will not go up for persons earning less than 400,000 US dollars.
400, right.
Right. So she's for the masses.
All right. I want to open up now. I want to open up to, yes.
If you could, sir, give me a second for me to ask for a member of the KIWANIS Club of Kingston to move for an extension of say another 7 minutes to complete this evening.
So move.
Seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by DP Junior. Thank you, DP Stewart.
Okay. I want to open it up more now to the floor, but let me just throw in one other policy objective that I've heard Kamala is definitely in favor of. In the US, for example, if you look at California as one particular example, there's a lot of homeless people. In fact, I remember when we had this architect, this Jamaican architect who has done well for herself as our guest speaker. She brought that home in a very vivid way in terms of letting us know how the homeless situation is in California. Right. Now, one of the reasons why now there is state-funded housing, and there's a particular bill or a law that exists now which limits the amount of money that the state can use to fund housing. And the whole thing is they don't want the state to spend too much money on that, because then the private home builders won't make as much money because you know they want to leave most of the market for them also. But the fact is that those home builders are not building the kind of units that the average poor person can afford. So there's this gap, and there's a need for the housing. And I think if she can pull off something like that, it could make a major difference in the lives of the
she proposes a $10,000 grant for first-time owners.
Okay.
Tax credit.
Okay.
So that is a major.
All right. I see a hand up. Dennis Townsend. Hey, Dennis, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
Go ahead.
I'll put it in the chat. Any views on the dropping out of Kennedy and supporting Trump, given that Kennedy was getting up to 5% support? Any views on that?
Okay, from what I understood, let me just throw in this first. From what I understood, he was making a pitch to both sides just to see who would be willing to commit to give him some kind of cabinet position or some kind of role. I see where Trump has agreed to make him part of the transition team. That doesn't necessarily mean cabinet position, but I guess Trump was playing up to that. But he's a pretty strange character, and I'm not so sure. It's not like when you had a third party candidate that was okay. Yeah, remember the days of Ralph, what's the guy's name? This guy who was a his name escaped.
Was Pat
No, I mean there was this guy who has been in the thorn of the Democrats, and he was more left. So when he came into the picture, he was definitely eating away part of the Democrats. Now, Robert Kennedy, only his family is Democrats.
Democrat,
but
yeah.
what he was enunciating wasn't really on what the Democratic platform was about. So I really don't think that his departure or his siding with Trump is going to make too much difference to the Democrats. The other panelists, please give me your views if you want to comment on Dennis's question.
Yeah, but my understanding is that it's almost even. I mean, I think it's probably 60-40 in favor of Trump.
So maybe it shouldn't make too much difference.
Not much difference.
Marcel, you have a view?
No, I don't think it's a major factor.
Yeah,
because there are some question signs about him.
Yes.
Yeah, there.
He seems, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Riley. Rastan, you're saying something? Okay, I don't see any more
just a
hands
quick
up.
one I would put in more in terms of issues, more than Kennedy. Immigration and the whole of that scenario is a major. I agree with DP Ross. I said earlier on that debate September 10th will be a tipping point. And the whole matter of immigration is a burning thing in terms of issues, and no time is of the essence. So I'm just showing in that as something that is a major consideration for those persons who are minds are not made up one way or the other. So the election and the whole thing of what is really happening with immigration will be critical in that final decision.
Okay, I see a hand up. Claudette Spence?
Yes, thank you for recognizing me. Sure. What is your perspective on the white evangelical women's vote on this election, particularly as it surrounds the abortion issues?
Okay, well, let me put it this way. I think that if they, based on all that has been presented, if they still prefer to vote for Trump, there's nothing anybody else can do about it. But I do believe he has lost some of his supporters, even among that group. Whether it's it's enough to really make a difference, I can't say, and I haven't seen any data that would suggest otherwise. But certainly, I think he has lost some support even within that group. But they may not come out and publicly say that. We might just see the reflections on election day.
Let me tell you what I pick up, you see. And I know the focus naturally and understandably is on the candidates. And when you have somebody like a Trump, we had a former prime minister out here, one call his name was like that. Yeah, very strong for him or strongly against him. What I have picked up with this whole thing of the abortion, LGBTQ, and immigration, what I'm picking up on the ground, even from here, is that persons who fall in that category now of where they believe look for that, it's going to be more of a party stroke policy vote than Trump. Because that is what where they are strong, the whole support. A lot of persons, they're quiet about it, but there are a lot of persons who are even some Democrats, who are very concerned about those issues, immigration, the whole support of LGBTQ, pride, and so on, and things like abortion. So it's what they do, and the evangelicals. Yeah, they're not so much for Trump, but they look at those issues.
Yeah, but
from a Republican Party perspective, and that is what they will decide on, not Trump.
But in addition to that, though, I think that the majority or the overriding issue is race, right? In that group, they are fearful of the loss of control and power by the white Caucasian male. This is systemic, and a lot of people don't want to raise it. But the fact is that this is the overriding issue, and this is why other policies, I mean, Trump get up and say anything, but because they know Trump will support the through whatever means this view on race.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know?
Yes.
That's just my...
Yeah, but that's the hard Republicans, you know, they were going to be Republican voting anyway, right? I mean, that's it. Yeah, but you're right. You're right.
Okay, I think we can get close. We're almost unwrapping now. I'm going to ask for everybody to just make a last minute, you know, I don't see any more hands up. But let me just show this one other thing. In terms of policy, Trump has said that he wanted to, you know, put tariffs on everything. And anybody who knows how tariffs work, and the funny thing, they try to make people believe that is not the consumer going to pay for it, you know, which is so ridiculous. And also, if you do that, it's going to be inflationary. So, you know, they just screwed up, to be honest, in terms of even the policy prescriptions, because he even went as far as to say that maybe it would be a good idea to replace income tax with tariffs and go that route. Totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. And, you know, I think that, you know, I don't know, I would love to hear him challenge and defend that in the debate. All right.
Stewart.
Yes.
Stewart, just before you're complete, may I just say something?
Sure.
Because I've heard the conversation and I like the conversation. It's very, I would say, very interesting one so far, but you're saying you're going to close very shortly. But I did not hear this tonight. A very critical issue that Donald Trump is found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records.
Oh, James.
The first degree. Right.
Yes.
As the first ever, he will be the first person as a president, right? And also as the Republican nominee to be facing an election. Don't we think that is an important issue?
Yes, yes.
Especially the independent voters. And maybe that's the reason why Kamala Harris is gaining the momentum while Mr. Trump is not off the marks as yet. Couldn't that be playing a very critical role?
Look,
deciding who should be
is
the president of the United States?
I'm busy with that.
They don't business with that.
No, the Republicans probably are willing to ignore it, and they're the Republican, but not the Independents, and certainly not the Democrats. But let me just say this: I think Kamala has answered that question very well in terms of right after she got the was embraced. Even before she got the official nomination, she brought that up. You know, and other people are hitting at that point. This Representative Crocker, and another black Republican congressman. Well, I don't know if you say congresswoman, I guess. She's a woman.
Yes, woman.
Brought up the thing about, you know, look at the resume versus the rap sheets. You know, it's not off. It's very much front and center. And then when Kamala said, you know, she outlined some of the things persons that she had prosecuted, and then she says,
Donald Trump
I'm very, you know, versus that I'm very familiar with the people, you know, with this guy, with Donald Trump.
No, but the system don't allow a convicted felon to vote. But you can run for president.
Yes, yeah, but you can't join. You can't join the army as a convict.
That's the irony.
And you're going to be chief of staff.
It is flawed. The system there is flawed.
No, you see, it's just that I think the way it was written, you know, they didn't anticipate that they had to write something in against this. They didn't. The qualifications for running, or the criteria, let me put it that way, the criteria for running for president is very simple, you know. You have to be above a certain age, and you must be born in America. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. So, and then he's trying now to push back the sentencing date, because the sentencing date
is the 18th of September.
Right. Okay. And I'm not sure what is that outcome. In fact, today, the guy, one of the prosecutors, forget it. He has filed. No, I don't even know what the term means. I haven't researched it yet. The superseding. Yeah, I've not yet come to terms with exactly what that means. Yes. But he is obviously trying to move something forward. Yes. So I don't think it's not that tonight we may not have focused on it, because because he's a candidate and he's allowed to run in spite of that. But in terms of how the public is going to respond, they'll take care of that.
It's another thing. All right. May I just go a little bit further on another issue? Remember when Joe Biden was there? We heard it so many times on the news that Joe Biden is cognitively deficient because of his age. Age. No, Mr. Trump, no, is what? The oldest one now.
Yes, yes.
Oldest one. And there is not much debate on that.
Clinton at the convention mentioned it.
No, that is not going unrecognized. That's not going unrecognized.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's not going unrecognized.
Thank you for
that. All right.
Thank you for that.
Okay, one around the panel. Closing remarks, please. Who wants to go first?
Thank you. I sincerely hope that America had gotten a chance to prove that they are well-thinking persons and they're able to make proper choices, and that they exercise in numbers so that there is no doubt that they will come out and support the opportunity of electing Kamala Harris, a Black woman, to the presidency of the United States. That's my...
Okay. Who's next? Warren, you want to go next?
All right. I have similar sentiments to PDT, but I think people need to see that Kamala is for the future. Trump is for the past. He wants to make America what it used to be. And that is a defining difference. But there's a point that we didn't touch.
White again.
Pardon?
White again.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a point that we didn't touch on. And I think the Republicans, as I said, inflation. But Kamala intends to introduce the first ever federal ban on price gouging. And she's going to have, the bill will allow, she's going to appoint a federal trade commissioner to investigate any
breaches.
Yes, of gouging, as well as the attorney generals in the various states have this role also. So at least she's trying to control the profits, the gouging, the super profits of these big companies, you know, in addition to the taxation. But I think
I think when she speaks about looking out for the consumer, the business community is saying you're anti-business.
Yes, this is
you
a
know,
problem.
it's funny that once you look out for the smaller man, you know, they would love to be able to just do whatever they want, whenever they want, and without any controls. You know, but it's gonna be a delicate balance, and some of those things she's gonna need Senate approval probably to get some of these things done, which is why the control of the Senate, you know, is vital. Marcel?
Yeah, I'll quickly say this, just a different perspective. Because if we look at what we're talking about here, on the one hand, we're having a candidate who I think in most other countries wouldn't be a candidate at all. So many convictions, facing other criminal charges, and he's still not just running, but still a potential winner of an election that probably seats the most powerful world leader. And on the other hand, someone who is a political newie, and what we're seeing in that situation, right? On the one, we probably should have been seeing a runaway against Donald Trump, as she describes him, a convicted felon. But what it says to me is that, and I'm speaking to other persons, well, quite a number of persons in the US, is that they face a dilemma. The hard line, and it boils down to party support in a situation like this. That is what is going for Donald Trump, right? That despite, as you said earlier on, despite all that, he has a lot of support because it's Trump stroke Republicans. And they stick with it because there are some very strong views against a Democratic Party that a lot of persons see as not carrying the old traditions, both religious, Christian in particular, and economic, that build America. So they will go with Republican Trump despite all that. And that to me is where one of the things to look at. That's a dilemma for some persons.
Okay, but the records show that a lot of situations where the Republicans have been in, it's the Democrats who have rebuilt. That's the history. It has been happening from ever since. You know,
no, I can't debate you on that, but the time don't allow for it.
Yeah, but okay, we can take it up. We can take it
up
at
another time. Yes, at another time.
But I just wanted I close on this note. I think you have, because she was not a member of the Congress or the Senate in terms of number of years. I think you're underestimating what it means to be elected as a district attorney, to be elected as an attorney general for a state like California, right? And so on, because there were not easy battles. So she's very much a politician. Do not underestimate her political chops because she wasn't in the Congress. You know, that's all. I'm gonna leave that with you, right? She is a politician, you know, and
she won by a vast majority to the Senate.
Yeah,
exactly.
But
exactly.
She didn't have a national profile, and that is what she has to be building now. But as I said,
and don't forget, Stu, as we wrap, many more persons can identify with her because of her personality, who she is.
Yes.
So she dance, she laugh, and
yes.
The door not opening, you have to just kick that episode down.
Yes.
That is part of their champion and what have you, you know. So it's people say she's like the lady next door. Something that, you know, and I
brought joy.
All goes well for her.
Yeah.
She's an optimist, you know. She carries hope. Yeah.
And I really think her background, you know, she didn't grow up with a silver spoon, but she she was in the middle somewhere, you know, and she has. Anyway, I think we have exhausted the topic. I mean, I'm sure there are other little issues that we could have brought up, but I want to say thanks to our panelists. I want to say thanks to our panelists who, Warren, Marcel, and RALSTON. You guys have really made a very excellent, you know, contribution to the total mix of what we have had to discuss. And I hope that our audience has, you know, come away with some additional thoughts that maybe they hadn't thought of before. But we're all looking forward to what's gonna happen in November. And there's a lot to look forward to even before we get to November. So, President Newton, over to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, DP Stewart, moderator. And thanks again to PDT Ralston, DP Marcel, and Director Warren for really doing justice to what really is in my view, an open-ended topic. Because I'm pretty sure we could talk for the next couple of weeks about this. And I'm pretty sure that in the coming weeks and the coming months, there will be many more formal and informal discussions. So again, thank you, gentlemen. I'm pretty sure everyone, including myself, learned a lot because you really put some things into perspective. In the interest of time, tonight, I am going to ask the Sarge to just stand down for tonight, and we will go straight into notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities with Secretary Willie Reason. DLG Willie?
Yeah, thank you, President. All right. Good evening, all. Regarding notices, this Thursday, we'll be having the Christmas Ball Planning Committee meeting at my house at 6:30. And a reminder, board members, officers, and directors, chairman, that Monday, September 2, we'll be having a board meeting face-to-face at Secretariat. This is, in fact, going to be the last meeting of President Newton, so it'll be his au revoir. In terms of interclubbing opportunities, I will circulate the schedule. However, I must mention that we have been invited to the New Kingston 35th anniversary. We want to have a good showing there. That's next week, Wednesday, September the 4th, 6 p.m. I will communicate the cost to everybody later on, but I want to make certain that we have at least 7 people there to make Auntie Gertrude very happy. Thank you. You may ask anybody, any other club that have any announcements, President. Please do so now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, DLG. And as DLG said, we are inviting every other club, and we know New Kingston is going to be first out of the block. To just if you have any announcements, to just go ahead and make them know. Any club with any announcement? No? Okay. Well, at this point, we're going to ask panelist DP Marcel to bring us thoughts for the week, or thought for the week.
Sorry, President Newton. Before you go, just want to say what a great discussion. I wish it could go on and on and on. So the Kiwanis Club of Montego Bay will be having our fun meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the RADA office in West Green. If you're in the Montego Bay area, please feel free to stop by. It's going to be fun and exciting. In addition to that, our diabetes health fair will be on the 2nd of November. And you're all invited to come down to Montego Bay and have a wonderful time getting your pressure checks, ECG, eye care, and so many other exciting events will be taking place on that day. And it's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. In addition to that, our anniversary week is in September. I will go ahead and circulate that flyer. For that week, we have an entire week filled with activities. In addition, last but not least, our retro party has been postponed. We will circulate the new flyer soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Crystal. Okay, DP Marcel, thought of the week.
Yes, man, short and quick. You must first have a lot of patience to learn to have patience. Have a good week.
Thank you, sir. And as Director Designate Crystal just said, it has been a great evening. I'm pretty sure no one who joined this evening said, boy, I shouldn't have. Really enjoyed it, really learned a lot. And so at this point, I'm going to ask you all to raise your glass and raise a toast to KIWANIS International, Jamaica Land We Love. And as we said, the conversation will continue in the future. So we hope that in the United States of America, may the best woman win the election. And so it is now 9:05, and this meeting of the KIWANIS Club of Kingston is now terminated. Thank you all for coming. See you again here, same time, same place, next week, Tuesday.
Okay, sir. Your bias was revealed.
Well, as evangelicals would say, I just said what I was led to say.
If you guys want to, let me just see this. Hold on. 1 second.